how might you go about selecting an exam board for your situation? In particular, always remember this big picture is thinking about what you are going to teach. Take your time in deciding on the board that you're going to use. So, which awarding organisation? Really note that the subject content and the subject conditions and Ofqual's application of comparable outcomes, meaning that the gradings are not going to change, that aims to ensure comparability across the awarding organisations, both in terms of the exam experience and the grading outcomes. But what is in your mind? These are some of the things you might be thinking of. Which spec will get my pupils the best grade? Well, the previous slide that I've said is particularly to say, beware, just because something might seem easier, it doesn't mean to say they're going to get, well, it won't mean that they're going to get a better grade. In the end, because of comparable outcomes, the profile will be the same. Which spec will allow for better teaching and learning over 2 to 5 years? That's going to be a significant thing, I think. Is there one which you feel is going to support the sort of teaching and learning that you want? In terms of existing resources and approaches, how do they match or require change? So resource implications, it could be that you're fed up with the resources you've got, you want a whole new lot anyway, in which case that doesn't matter. Or it may be that you're seeing whether or not this fits in with what you've got already. If you've already put loads of work into the current specification, it could be that you're looking for something which means you can continue using those resources. I think this next one's really important for me. How clearly do I understand the assessment criteria? And that's especially for the productive skills of speaking and writing. You'll want to be able to explain to the students, won't you, what it is they've got to do. You want to make it as transparent, as fair as possible. And the other thing is, say you don't agree with what the grades are or what the marks are that your students get. If you understand the assessment criteria, you're going to be able to challenge the exam boards because you'll have looked at them very, very carefully. You'll be able to ask why a student has been given a particular grade, a particular mark. Sorry, mustn't use the word grade. So I think assessment criteria really, really important. And almost, spoiler alert if you like, I think that Ofqual have done a pretty good job on this. Having looked at the drafts for the exam boards, there were some where I thought, that's not very clear, that's not very transparent, it's not very obvious. Now when I look at them, I think they are much, much better. And certainly when I looked at them, I felt that I would be comfortable with them. But you have a look at them, see which ones you think suit you best. The next one, which specification gives the best assessment experience for my pupils? So how would my pupils perform with the stimulus, the response of the sample papers? How suitable is it for my cohort? I think that's something where you've got the SAMs. What you could do is you could, and I know that some people have done this already, just give your current year 9, current year 10 the exam papers to see how they get on, see what their experience is, because there are differences. Next one, which spec is the most easily managed? When you look at it, and the next video is going to be about various decisions that the boards have taken to do with administration, so there might be some which you prefer. Which spec allows for the most choice for my department? Really important, that goes with the one below as well, that collaboration. You'll be wanting to work with other people. Is it a specification which is going to force everybody to go down one particular path? That might be what you want. Or is it one that's going to allow for some sort of choice? So the next point is, I know a lot of people work as part of trusts now. Sometimes it may be that they insist everybody does the same one. So you'll be wanting to see what other people are doing and influence that decision as well. So what do the networks advise? The next one, what support is available from the awarding organisation? When I looked at that, there is just so much support available from both. They are bending over backwards to get your business, I'm sure, really, but also genuinely to give support. So I think that's where for you to look on their sites, to speak to the advisors. They're available to come and speak to you. That might be something which will affect your decision. The one I've put in red is probably the one that would be at the top of my mind, which is least likely to mean I get flack from pupils, colleagues, parents, managers. So really, I think there, which one can I really explain the best? Which one can perhaps sell it the best to those people? The final bullet point, well, this is the obvious one. What should it be? It should be what's best for our pupils. And I put in a quote from Michelle Meadows from Ofqual, who is particularly stressing that you have got different boards. You can choose. There's an opportunity to do that. But to beware, remember that it's not going to make a difference to the grades. So as far as I'm concerned in these videos, there really isn't an outright recommendation here. I genuinely feel that both accredited versions so far have got things to offer. It's more to do with the process and hopefully a useful summary or some indicators of what you're looking at. This, I think, is the most important thing for a good assessment. Valid. Does it test what it's meant to be testing? Reliable. Does it test fairly, regardless of who or when you're taking the exam? And accessible. Does it allow the whole ability to show what they know, understand, and can do? And I think that's something which was Ofqual's job when looking at the draft specifications. And I feel that already the exam boards had done a good job, especially given the fact they really didn't have that long for this. But I think that they do tick those boxes. But when you look at each individual test, there may be some which you feel are more valid, are more reliable, or more accessible. The thing I've put there in pink, it's very tempting sometimes to talk about, we want an exciting assessment, or we want an easy assessment. I'd really, really warn against that. Well, it's up to you, but I mean, in the end, I feel you want something where you know the students are going to go in, take the exam, and get the grades that you feel that, certainly in the order that they deserve, in a sense of when your students are taking the exam, when they come out, it may be that they've been unhappy with the exam, maybe they found it difficult, but in the end, when you look at the grades, are they in the rank order you would expect? Do you think there's been a fair application of the scores and the grades so they're in the right order? That would be my most important criterion, I feel. Here's a pretty obvious process. Anybody who's done a management course, you'll be told this, but it really is important. It's so much easier to know where people are starting from. So rather than going in with your own particular idea of this is what must happen, find out from your staff, what do they feel, your managers. I've already mentioned about the pupils, perhaps trying out some of the sample assessment materials on them. Just know where your parents and governors are coming from as well. And throughout the process, practically think about how you, as a head of department, as a manager, as a teacher, how would you explain the situation or the decisions to others? You're going to be having to write an entry for the upper school handbook, or for an evening. You'll be giving a talk. Think about how you would explain why you've chosen that. What are the elements of the exam board which suit you? And then the next section is going to be looking at how the exam boards have responded.